So, friends, it's been another hard week. I think for me, for some reason, it's been harder than the last one. While the shock is still there are layers of pain and trauma that are washing over me, I find. The challenges for Israel will not go away. I'm grateful for what we have, for community, for coming together as so many of us did on Thursday evening at the Vigil for Israel at Hastings Park in Lexington. The three synagogues, Reformed, Conservative, and Orthodox, who all came together, even with some of our differences, meant a lot. And I'm especially proud of our Christian and Sikh leaders who stood with us on the podium to support us. They're true friends, and we can call on them in times of trouble, and we did. And they answered. They sent letters of support to all the communities. So just before the vigil on Thursday night, when sort of you're scrambling for everything and trying to make sure everything's in place. And of course, the sound system didn't work. So I felt very much at home. It was troubleshooted, and of course, it was Michael Roskind who fixed it. I was just about to open the program when suddenly a woman walked very quickly towards the stage. She didn't seem like any threat, but she just kind of went up really quickly. And she was carrying this bouquet of flowers that maybe you can see behind me. She just kind of came up, took the flowers, and put them right in front of the podium, and then just slipped away, like really quickly. I placed them here so you could see them. A gift of love, a gift of friendship. I assumed there would be a card inside so I could thank her, but there was no card, no name. I don't know who this woman was, but she was bringing a simple act of kindness, a gesture of love into the moment. And I'm trying to carry that with me. Today's Torah reading begins with violence, with behavior that we saw 2 weeks ago. As Aaron reminded us in his value-based Devar Torah, we know this story of Noah and the flood. And the open verses begin to explain what is taking place in the earth. Vatimale haaretz chamas. The earth was filled with Hamas. In biblical Hebrew, it means violence, lawlessness. As languages evolve, and Hebrew's connected to Aramaic and then to Arabic, in Arabic it becomes chamisa, meaning zeal or strength. Hamas, the modern terrorist organization, was founded in 1987 as a split-off from the Muslim Brotherhood. It is an acronym for the Islamic Resistance Movement. In Arabic, Hakarat al-Mukayama al-Islamiyya. But of course, it clearly connects to the Arabic word for zeal and the biblical word for violence. Hamas is incredibly zealous in their violence. They want to rid the land from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean of all Jews. Their charter states, in fact, that they want to kill all Jews. They quote from an Islamic source, quote, The day of judgment will come. The day of judgment will not come about until Muslims fight Jews and kill them. Then the Jews will hide behind rocks and trees, and the rocks and trees will cry out, "O Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me. Come and kill him." They're explicit. If nothing, they're direct and focused. For me, this is triggering the murder of my two close friends on a bus by Hamas in 1996. Matt Eisenfeld and Sarah Duker, Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. But it's not just Hamas that is the problem. It's that so many people in our world and in our country do not seem to get what has happened to the Jewish people. Many universities don't seem to get it. Many students don't seem to get it. Many people and movements that we care deeply about don't seem to get it. They just see that there's an ensuing war, and they're seeing everything only through a political conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians. They're seeing horrific deaths of innocents in Gazans as the only issue. And let me be very, very clear. It is a tragedy, and I mourn the death of every innocent Palestinian as we do every Israeli and those from 29 other nationalities. Every human life, as our tradition teaches, is created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God, and is of infinite worth and value. But what people don't think about is the context. They don't bother to stop and see the nuances. Maybe they don't know, or they've forgotten the history, even just the recent history, that Israel unilaterally pulled out from Gaza in 2005, uprooting all of the settlements, forcing out all the Jews from that land, and then they gave that land to the Palestinians as best as they could. They gave them keys to their greenhouses and said, "Build a country. We want to partner with you. Build something. Build a state. We'll try to help you." But the Gazans chose a different path. They voted for Hamas. It was a civil war in Gaza where Hamas defeated the Palestinian Authority, a voice for more moderation. And what did they create? An Islamic terrorist entity on Israel's border that has been launching rockets incessantly for 17 years. This is why Israel tried to stop the import of certain materials to try to stop weapons. And tragically, horrifically, it seems like they failed. Hamas took lots and lots of money from Qatar, and instead of investing it in their own country, in their own infrastructure, they invested it in one thing: terror. They planned and successfully executed as every possible thing went wrong for Israel. Israel, whose prime minister decided to focus on weakening the more moderate Palestinian Authority and strengthening Hamas, presumably to prevent a two-state solution. A prime minister who tragically moved 3 divisions of the armies just 3 days before the attack from the Gaza border to the West Bank, presumably to protect settlers. And so now the world turns against Israel and against Jews. They see the deaths of Palestinians killed in a hospital by an Islamic Jihad rocket as Israel's fault. They blame Israel when Hamas launches rockets from homes from hospitals, from schools, from mosques. And Israel tries to stop it and protect its people. Right now, we need the voices of support. And thankfully, there are some strong voices like President Biden's, other Western leaders who are condemning Hamas, its horrors, its brutality, its savagery, its burning. Children, elderly, and the hostages, as we just spoke about, who keep me up at night and whose tragedy fills me with tears. But we don't hear that from our universities. Bland, mealy-mouthed statements about this ensuing war. There's a statement about the terrorist attack. Start with that. Full stop. And then you can discuss what has happened since. But so many leaders are unable to do that. They're unable to condemn terrorism for what it is. Watch the video, and I'll send it out in the coming days, of an Israeli Columbia professor who calls out many schools and their presidents, including my alma mater, for their lack of moral clarity. Busha. Busha. Shame on them. Call out violence. Is that too hard? Call out Jew hatred. Mayor and I have received numerous calls and emails from parents and students in local public schools, in local non-Jewish private schools, and in various universities around the country, telling us that their school leadership have failed them, that they've missed the boat, that they're so focused on other communities that they forgot about us. Maybe they forgot about the Holocaust, and they don't teach it anymore. Maybe they don't remember Pittsburgh. Maybe they don't remember Charlottesville. Maybe they don't remember right here in Arlington, a synagogue where an anti-Semite tried to burn it down twice. Jews live with trauma. Maybe they don't see the trauma. Maybe they don't see that we have to have armed guards here. Maybe they're unaware of what the Jewish community is facing. I'm thankful we have this protection, that we've invested in it. And when you leave today, thank them. Thank Michael Roskin and Adam Szymanski for coordinating this. On Thursday, we had a huge police presence, private security. And strangely, almost perversely, I feel safer here in Temple Emunah. And I do spend quite a bit of time here. I feel safer here than I do on the college campus that I attended, where Jewish students had to be pushed into the Hillel and locked the doors so that they could be saved from a Palestinian march that was walking nearby as they chanted, "From the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free." What will it be free of? Jews. So let's return to our Torah text. Judy Kligger, who's moved down to Florida for the winter, she sent me a video pointing to one of our great commentators, Onkelos. I don't know how many people are familiar with Onkelos. All right, not that many. He definitely has the best name, so you got to love Onkelos. Onkelos lived in the first century, about 2,000 years ago. He was a convert to Judaism, and he wrote an amazing translation to the Torah with commentary. And he says the following. He looks at the word Hamas, and prophetically he says, what does it mean? People who take other people as hostages. That's the Hamas. That's the hateful behavior before the flood. It was taking captives. The verb that's used there in that phrase, "Vatimaleh haaretz Hamas," the earth becomes filled with this violence, this hostage taking, the verb is written in the passive. It's like it just seeps into everything and it fills the earth. Of course, that's what we see today. We see a world today where hate can just seep into everything. Thanks to the internet, it spreads quickly like COVID and takes control of its hosts. Who are the people? Often, and most often, young men who don't have a future, who don't have a job, who don't have relationships, who are easily swept up in hatred and violence. We see this on the right, the far right, with white supremacists. We see this in the Muslim world. And now we see some of this hate creeping into the far left, along with hate's terrible cousin, apathy. But Onkelos then gives us a message of hope. Onkelos says that God, the forces of goodness, will also come into the world and can help us get rid of all this evil. And to me, it's not just getting rid of the evil, this terrorism, the groups that commit this, the terrorist ideology, all of that. But it's about rebuilding something. You can't just tear down without already thinking about what you're going to build. And the Torah does exactly the same thing in this week's Parsha. It doesn't end with the destruction of the world flooded. But then, as we just read, the world is rebuilt anew. Vayavarech Noach. Noach is blessed. He and his sons are told, Peru Revu Milu Atar. Right? They're told to once again be fruitful and multiply, rebuild this world. It's the exact same language that was used last week when the world was first created. The Torah is giving us some hope that somehow we can get through times of loss, times of violence, reminding us, as it did last week, with the same words this week, Ki b'tselem Elohim asa et Adam. It says that in the image of God, every human being was created. All of humanity. Even when the other people forget that, even when they lose sight of that, we dare not forget that. Let us not descend into an abyss of depravity, of hate, of revenge, because then we let the terrorists win. We must stand up and defend ourselves 100%. But we don't speak words of hate. We do not commit atrocities. We try to protect every innocent person, every civilian, as the IDF is trying its best to do in the most difficult and horrific circumstances. And then God gives us that sign of peace. The one that's been with us all along, still used as a sign of hope, of coming together, of inclusivity, of togetherness. The sign of the Keshet, the rainbow. God says, I have set my bow in the clouds, and that will serve as a covenant between me and all humanity. A reminder for God and humanity about how to behave in this world. Sometimes we behave in small little gestures of kindness. A few flowers. And as we go through this time where we need to be with one another, to defend ourselves, let us remember what our ultimate goal always is. We close every Amidah, our standing silent prayer, every single mourner's Kaddish, every single service. When we gather, we always end with Oseh Shalom, the prayer for peace, as Terry led us in early this morning. Let that hope for shalom, always be there, even when it seems far away. Let us say, Amen.